بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله أما بعد. I greet our mighty students, listeners, guests. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our Saturday morning Ta'aleem session. We're looking at the idea of Balagha, the concept of Balagha, the science of Balagha. And Balagha has three sciences that come under the rhetorical eloquence. Balagha is the rhetorical eloquence of the Quran. That's what we are studying the Quran. And it has three sciences that comes under Balagha. It's the science of al-Ma'ani. And al-Ma'ani, we're beginning to take a look at that on Sundays at 8 o'clock. Al-Ma'ani, as the science of semantics. It's a step up from grammar. Grammar helps us understand what the Quran is saying, what it is saying. When we look at al-Ma'ani, we're getting a more in-depth understanding of what it is saying and how the words are arranged in which to say things. If I can put it in that sense, how the words are arranged. It's very interesting, the speech of the Quran. It's a very unique speech of the Quran. So not only how the words are arranged, but how meaning is given to the arrangement. Grammar will help us understand how words are influenced by other words in terms of what it's saying. Then we get a more in-depth understanding of what's being said by the arrangement of the words. Why this phrase is mentioned before this phrase. These words are mentioned in this place, dealing with semantics. Then there's the science of al-Bayan, which we are studying on Saturday mornings. Al-Bayan. We have al-Bayan on Saturday mornings at 6 o'clock, and we have al-Ma'ani at 8 o'clock. And we also have discussion with al-Ma'ani, with the class of discussion, but you all are invited. Everyone is invited. Al-Bayan deals with more or less, I would say, a comparative analysis that brings about clarity. That's al-Bayan, dealing with clarity. A comparative analysis that brings about clarity. And the third, al-Badi'u, we haven't started into al-Badi'u. It deals with the embellishment, icing on the cake. Al-Badi'u. So let us get started with al-Bayan today. The science of al-Bayan, ilmul bayan. So we're looking at part 2 of the Night of Power. Part 2. The surah Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna anzalnahu fi laylati al-qadri. وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر. We covered these three last week, and today we're going to cover the last two. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. 4 and 5 we will look at today. So first we will take a look at 4. The Ilmul Bayan and with the Warithian commentary. So again it reads, تنزل الملائكة والروح. The angels and the spirit descend. The angels and the spirit descend. فيها, in it. So when you're reading, you want to, this pronoun has, you want to go back and see what noun is this pronoun in the place of. Had, in it. In what? In her or in it? We wouldn't say her unless we're speaking poetically of the night. This night. Poetically, we would say in her. That's, the poets may use it in that sense. But in common English, we would say in it, the night. Bi-izni, by the permission Rabbihim, of their Lord. The angels and the spirit, by the permission of their Lord. So now, right away we can see, I want to bring out, now I may bring out later, that the spirit is not Allah. Because the spirit has a Lord. And it descends by the permission of its Lord and the angels. They descend by the permission of their Lord, the angels and the spirit. So here, it's not Allah. Min kulli amrin, from upon every command. The first concept, principle of al-bayan, at-tashbih. Now, we've been doing this for a while, so the students should have some idea or concept of at-tashbih. At-tashbih. But through repetition, you come every week through repetition, you're going to learn. That's the method. In fact, that's the Mali method. We teach through repetition. You have a teacher, you come, and by repetition, and in the class, repetition and drills. Instead of looking at a book and doing exercises, we drill you orally. Everything is done in an oral sense in the Mali system. Technically, and it's been some years, I guess, since I checked. But there's no real, when you want to learn Quranic Arabic, you want to learn, it's not about the book. There is no good book that you're going to pick up and read and do it yourself learning with Quranic Arabic. I'm talking to the African American now, talking to my people directly. You're not going to, those systems are thinking you can get a book, a magical book, and this book is the book of all books on Quranic Arabic, and we're going to learn Arabic through this book. In a general sense, this method has not worked for us. I'm not going to spend a lot of time as to why, but it has not worked. If you want to learn this Quranic Arabic language, get a good teacher, not a good book. There is no good book to teach you Quranic Arabic, no matter what the advertisers say. There's no good book to teach you from Quranic Arabic. That system doesn't work. It hasn't worked for us. Yes, there's an exception of one or two here or there, but not in the group sense and having the success that Mali is having from having a good teacher who's consistent and who consistent with repetitious teachings and drilling. That's how you learn. So, that's how we're going to learn these concepts of Balagha, through teaching and repeating ourselves over and over and over. Repeat ourselves 50 times. You may not get it. The 51st time, the light comes on. That's the method of Mali. So, Tashbih. There is no explicit simile. There is no explicit simile in wording. In this wording, تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. There is no explicit simile. Yet the verse catches an implicit representative picture. It's about a night as if it were a royal procession. That's the imagery that's given. I recall, I think I was in the 5th grade. Yes, I was in the 5th grade. Allah allows us to have a mind that can go back, a memory. We can go back in time. And we can go forward in time. Yes, the memory goes back, the spirit goes forward. And my teacher, I can hear her now, saying, when you read, make pictures. When you read, make pictures. So here in the Quran, Allah is revealing to us in a language. And in this language, we're given pictures, imagery. It's producing imagery and pictures. But the pictures, the imagery that we're getting is not to be taken literally. We have to interpret the pictures. Make the pictures and then interpret the pictures. As you're making these pictures, there are times when you really is seeing, is you taking the Quran, reading it, and it's showing you in your own environment, in your own history, in your own makeup. It's giving you the example of the reading, a picture of the reading. Don't throw the picture out. Don't take the picture literally. Look at the picture and now interpret the picture. And when you're interpreting this picture, apply it to your own life. Don't try to use your imagination, imagining how someone else applied it. How do you apply this Quran to your own life? Read it correctly. Learn to read. As you're reading it, pictures come up. As these pictures come up, apply it to your own life. Don't worry about how someone else applied it to their life. So here's the picture. It's a night, as if it were a royal procession. It's given that imagery, in which angels and the Spirit descend bearing decrees. Yes. Bringing the unseen realm near to the listener's imagination as a great ordered convoy. So you have if you read the Quran in this beautiful rhythmic musical sound, it's giving you the background. You know, it's like looking at a movie. You imagine the imagination. You're imagining now looking at a movie, and behind the scene, they're giving you the dialogue. You have the dialogue in the movie, and then behind the scene in the dialogue, there's music. And the Quran is doing this. It gives you the nice rhythm. Behind all that beautiful rhythm is you're getting this scene and this dialogue that's taking place. Yes. And this movie is about a royal procession that's taking place. And here the angels and the Spirit, they're coming down from an unseen realm. Coming, as we would say, coming out of nowhere. And coming down and bringing about as an ordered convoy, bearing decrees. Yes. This is the night of power. Now, some have taken this imagination and created a Santa Claus out of it. And here comes Santa Claus now, bearing decrees. Got decrees in his bag. And he comes down the chimney and he's leaving decrees under the tree. Now, my imagination is getting not too wild, but the picture came to my mind, and I just expressed that picture. But I'm not taking it literally. Some of you may get the hint. الاستعانة تنزلوا in the verse is an explicit metaphor, meaning that it's a straightforward metaphor, تنزلوا, drawing on the physical descent from height to low place and applying it to the movement of angels and the Spirit from the unseen world to the seen world. It's like a metaphor. To make the world of divine command more intelligible to the human perception. And literally, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor that the angels and the Spirit is coming down to make it more intelligible in the reading and giving the picture, making the picture a little more vivid. But in the terms of the angels, the Spirit, and this spiritual world, in our own spiritual environment, this ontological principle. Space and time, as we know it, doesn't exist in this world in the same sense. So we're using space and time in the physical aspect to paint this picture, to give the reader this idea, an intelligible idea of angels coming down. But in the ontological world, we don't have this concept of space and time. We use it for our own life in terms of our physical existence. That's why I'm saying, if we can, and I keep saying through repetition, I don't know how many years now that I've been saying this, but maybe this is the year it may catch on. Who knows? That Ramadan is a calendar month. We're dealing with physical time and space, and Ramadan is also a spiritual month, a ritual month. Pardon me, a ritual month when it's representative of something of a higher degree, more so than physical time and place. So we have a ritual month, and we have the calendar month of Ramadan. There's a difference. Min kulli amrin can be an implied metaphor. Decreed matters are pictured as entities carried along, so that decrees and knowledge are imagined as things, imagined as things transported, with the angels in their descent. They're bringing things. They have a bag full of things they're going to hand out this night. Now, some of us take this literally about the night of power. And if you're not at the masjid, you're going to miss the angels of Santa Claus. And you have to wait until next year to get the things that's in the angels' bags. And don't forget, you have to be good all year. Aruhu, the spirit, is a metonym for Jabril. It's alluding to Jabril. We could say, or on a broader view, for the exalted spiritual beings. It uses the term spirit for the chief angel. In this one sense, scholars may hold, because of his lofty spiritual rank. It's the angel Jabril. We know he brings in his bag the revelations. Min kulli amrin is also a metonym, meaning for every matter, amrin, for every matter, kulli amrin, that has been determined and decreed. The verse mentions the outcome, every matter, the outcome, and intends its cause, namely the yearly appointment and the conveyance of decrees. This is taken as, we could say, figurative speech, or alluding to this idea, the knife of power. And the last, Al-Kinaya. The descent of the angels and the spirit is an indirect expression of the outpouring of mercy and divine support on that night. It's an indirect expression of that. Since one of the necessary consequences of angelic abundance is the settling of tranquility and the easing of excess between servant and Lord. And we have also the allusion, بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ, as an indirect expression of perfect submission and obedience. بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ. They do not move except by His authorization, by Allah's authorization. The angels and the spirit do not move except by Allah's authorization, alluding to a tightly ordered, purposeful governance with no randomness. This is the pictorial that we're giving of this verse. Now, the Warithian commentary is taken from the writings or readings of Imam Warithian Muhammad. This is where we start. We're starting this study, MALI, Muslim American Logic Institute. That's what we are building. An institution studying a Quranic institution in its outset, in our beginnings. Coming out of this institution, we are beginning to envision or bring into existence. The vision has been given. Bring it into fruition, bringing into existence a Warithian school of thought. Yes. So it's to naturally occur as we read the Quran and apply it to the time and place that we're in, without violating the traditional exemplary life of Muhammad the Prophet and what he represents as the model. Understand the model. I know when I took an economics class, micro, macro, both of them, the students would cry. We as students would cry. This is not real. This is not what really occurs. And there's the saying, how does it go? Something to the effect, as long as everything remains equal, you're trying to carve out a moment in time. Then if this occurs, if this happens, this will happen. As long as everything remains equal, as long as the world stops, and in this moment, this is a model. We can apply this model in this moment. But the cry is nothing remains equal. Everything doesn't remain as it is. So we have to learn how to take this as a model. The teacher would say it's a model. It's a model. Muhammad the Prophet is a model. And we're gonna follow this model and apply this model in the moment and time and the place that we're in without violating the model. Understand that. Doing so, it would naturally become what we call the Warithian school of logic or the Warithian school of thought. If you study the others, that's the same thing that occurred with them. Yes. Angels are real beings created by Allah. Real beings created by Allah who serve as forces influencing both creation and human nature. They embody factors such as inspiration, moral insight, and higher rational guidance. The presence of angels supports humans in their role as custodians of the earth. Khalifa. Allah commands angels to yield. Allah commands angels to yield to human beings when they receive a portion of His Spirit. The descent of the Spirit revitalizes the human soul's original nature and higher consciousness, enabling us to perceive creation more accurately and establish a just order society. Now, I'm going to digress a moment. In the moment and time that we're in, and this spirit continues to descend upon the original nature, the soul's original nature, enables us today to see, to have a perception of creation more accurately than the perception that man had 500 years ago. How we're perceiving creation today may be more accurately, more advanced than how creation was perceived during the lifetime of Muhammad the Prophet by those who were right with him, hearing, seeing him, experiencing him, and receiving revelation directly from him. How were they perceiving creation in that moment in time? Remember, Muhammad is the model. Muhammad the Prophet, the prayers and peace be upon him, he's the model. Not the model for that moment, the model for all time. So how they were perceiving creation bears upon how they were applying the revelation. So in other words, the Quran doesn't get old. Revelation, back to the Warithian reading now. Revelation was bestowed upon the prophet's heart, emphasizing that to receive what descends, one must live morally and be ready, rather than merely being part of a mystical elite. So I'm not knocking our Christians, brothers and sisters, and what have you. You have to be good all year, morally, and you have to be ready. In the real sense, not in the mystical, magical sense. The descent illustrates how Allah's guidance, protection, and detailed management of human life and society are manifested in history and within the believing soul, rather than functioning as a coded message for hidden cosmologies. That night symbolizes. It's not a calendar night. It symbolizes Allah's concentrated management of human affairs. Now, what we present is connecting what we presented before, without going back and repeating about this night. We know this night is better than 1,000 months. So we're not talking about an 8-hour night, a few hours of the night. Continue. But its deeper meaning is that when believers engage with the Quran and embrace that night in their hearts, minds, and communities, this is the symbolic idea of the night of power. The believers engage with the Quran. Because we study Ramadan, the ritual month of Ramadan is all about the Quran. That's what makes this month stand out in honor from all other months. It's the Quran. That's what it's about. It's not the fasting. It's not the act of fasting. That's not what this month stands out from all other months. Even though we become the ritual of fasting. Yes, we experience fasting. Yes. But that's not what this makes this month so great, so honored. It's about the Quran. And then this night, we could say, is intensified within the month about the Quran. That we embrace that night, we embrace it the whole month, but this night is more intensified. Hearts, minds, and communities are renewed with life. This night symbolizes the whole period of ignorance. How the Quran comes and brings about a new life. Yes. Courage, clarity, and order. This does not imply gaining secret power over others. The entire framework of human existence, including the paths of science, social order, economics, and family, is properly open and aligned when revelation is respected. nothing in life exists outside of what comes from Allah. This night should be our renewed appreciation that we should have for revelation, that we should have for this Quran. Some of us would come out of the month and we get on the scale. The physical scale. How many of us come out of the month having a renewed appreciation for this Quran? More curious about what Allah has written to humanity. The letter that Allah has given to humanity. What does the letter say? What does it say? Now, let's look at the last verse. Salamun hiya. Salamun hiya hatta matla'il fajr. The tashbih. Many rhetoricians, if I said that correctly, y'all know I don't have I didn't go to school and get a degree in this stuff. Y'all know that. Read Salamun hiya. Salamun hiya. And maybe that's why I have a free mind. Salamun hiya. Peace, we can read this, it is peace, or we can read it, peace is it. Peace is it, or it is peace. As an intensified elliptical simile in the predicative structure. Predicative, predicative, I guess depending on where you're from. I guess I'm going to be accused of making up stuff now. It is as though the night itself were pure peace. This is the elliptical simile. Were pure peace, or like peace in the fullness of security and tranquility, with the object of comparison. Now, to have the simile, and simile, you need your subject, you need the elements of tashbih. You have to have the subject, the object of the subject, the tool of comparison, like, as, if, like, what have you. So you have the subject, the tool, the object, and then you have the aspect of comparison or the shared attribute between the subject and the object. So here you have pure peace is given, but the object of comparison is omitted for emphasis. So you're saying peace, if you look at it in as here as the predicate, then peace is it, but peace is what? The object is actually omitted. So this pronoun is more or less you're saying peace is it. Peace is what? Peace is like what? And whatever it is like, what peace meaning that and that security, tranquility is the attributes of peace. Then whatever it is like, it would share those attributes. So you could say peace is pure peace. It's like pure peace. We have to reflect. It calls us to reflect and think about what is being said, clarifying what is being said. When we read the Quran in Arabic, not in English, not in English, in Arabic, we have to look at the verse in Arabic, not in English. Because we have read translations, sometimes we, in our mind, we impose the translation on the Arabic reading. We have to learn how to read the Quran in Arabic without imposing what I already know, what I've already been given, and put that and apply that in the reading. Then we'll begin to see the structure that we're talking about, how this Quran is structured. Salamun hiya. We just take for granted what it says. Look at how the words are arranged. Salamun hiya. Not hiya salam. Salamun hiya. We have to pause and reflect. Look at this language. It's not a mistake. Language is not, the Quranic language is not a mistake. We can't use how we govern language to say that this language is not correct. All, when we talk about grammar, and even what we're studying now, Balagha, the scholars look at the Quran and they bring about these sciences as they have observed and looked at the Quran. Not that the Quran is based upon some rule of grammar or some rule of speech that is following that came before it. The Quran is not imitating any speech. It's not imitating the speech that came before it, and no speech can imitate it. Al-Istian. There is an implied metaphor in making salam the predicate. That's the implied metaphor, making salam the predicate of the pronoun here, referring to the night. The night is likened to a person who possesses and embodies peace. So if the salam is the predicate, then when we read it, it is peace. If hiya is the predicate, which would be, we would think, a little strange, peace is it. So it's an implied metaphor that we're reading it, it is peace. Likened to a person who possesses and embodies peace. The likeness is then dropped, and its necessary trait, peace, is asserted as her very identity. See how he's speaking as the poet. Her very identity. So there is no, then we would say the likeness is dropped, meaning the cat or the mislet, she is like peace. But now we're saying she is peace. Hatta matli'i al-fajr can also be taken as a metaphor for the time when the state of special manifestation ends. That's when this special state ends. Like in the conclusion of this piece to a sensory dawning that ends the darkness. That's the end of it. No more peace. They didn't argue, debate, and disagree until the knowledge came, the revelation came. And then you would find them coming out of that peaceful night. You'll find them arguing and debating right in front of the prophet himself. Like in our case, coming out of ignorance. You will find them arguing and debating and disagreeing with Imam W.D. Muhammad himself, not accepting what he's bringing. All of a sudden, well, the peace is gone. Salamun is the metonym for safety from harm, sins, and punishments. Salam. The abstract noun is used while the intended meaning is its concrete. Concrete consequences of security and well-being. Hatta matli il-fajr is a temporal metonym. The dawn is treated as the limit of this peace in terms of its special nightly manifestation, even though its effects may continue into the believer's life beyond that point. So this is the idea, majaz, the figurative speech that we're giving of this of these salamun and the end of the salamun, the peace. The last is kinaya. Salamun hiya hatta matla il fajr is an indirect expression for a full harmony between God's decree that night and the true welfare of his servants. And for his pleasure with those who turn to him in it. For peace is one of the necessary signs of divine good pleasure. Peace and satisfaction. It is also an indirect expression for the uninterrupted flow of spiritual grace from the beginning of the night until dawn, such that nothing of wrath or ill decree befalls those who genuinely seek him during it, during that night, during that time. Yes. The Warithian commentary And this is a term that I have coined, Warithian. I've coined it after the name of Warithian Muhammad. Warithian Muhammad. Keep it simple. Don't try to blend it. Warithian. Don't try to blend it. You're trying to blend it. Warithian, but then you don't say Warithian. Start understanding Arabic. You don't say Warithian Muhammadan. So Warithian Muhammad. Keep it easy. So it's Warithian. Warithian is coined after the name Warith. Heaven and hell both begin in this life as states of the soul and community, ultimately reaching their fullness in the hereafter. Peace occurs when human passions are disciplined by the Quran. Peace occurs when human passions are disciplined by the Quran, allowing them to serve life, passions, to serve life rather than extinguishing the good sentiments of the heart. When these passions are undisciplined, they become hellfire. Therefore, peace is created when the soul and community are brought under the Quranic order. Fears are quieted, greed and rage are checked, and a higher moral intelligence is awakened. This you can witness, even experience, when you learn to read this Quran from its original text, from the Arabic text. Believe me. And then once you learn to read, obey it. The rising of dawn represents a new way of perceiving creation. The rising of dawn represents a new way of perceiving creation. When one awakens to see the world as a paradise of signs rather than a burden. It signifies a protected inner state where no trouble or illness can penetrate, even as the body endures challenges. In this context, until the rising of dawn is not merely a time marker. Once again, it's not a time marker. We're not looking at man's clock. We're on Allah's clock. And we don't have a conception, a good perceived conception of Allah's clock. So it symbolizes the believer being guided through a night of transformation, leading to a new conscious day in which the Quran has reordered thoughts, feelings, and priorities. In conclusion, the ritual known as the Night of Power takes place on one of the last 10 nights of Ramadan. Now, most likely the 27th night. Now here is the word problem. Okay? It's a ritual. It's a ritual night in the ritual month. A ritual night in a ritual month. So in the ritual, if we're counting the last 10 nights, here's your word problem now. It's arithmetic. We're going to see what class of arithmetic should you go to. Should you go to the first class, advanced arithmetic, or should you go to a math class? You got arithmetic, then you have math, and then you have algebra. So we're going to see what class you belong to. If you're counting and you want to determine the last 10 nights, how many nights are you counting? In order for you to count the last 10 nights, you have to know in the beginning how many nights are you counting before you can get to the last 10. So the 27th night, how many nights are you counting to get to 27 within the last 10? Are you counting 15 nights? The last 10 or 15 nights? Are you counting 29 nights? Are you counting 30 nights? Are you counting 31 nights? How many nights are you counting to know when you get into to count the last 10? It's a ritual. It's a ritual month. You're counting 30 nights, which we presented 30 nights. The last 10 of 30 nights. And then after the 30th night, you have the 30th day. So go and read chapter 30, verse 30. See what you get. It's a Warithian thing. Is that how we say it? It's a Warithian thing. Have I violated anything? No. It involves increased acts of worship, such as extra prayers, reading the Quran, and making personal du'as, supplications. The deeper significance of this night is that it offers the best opportunity for Allah's words to fulfill your potential, helping you grow as khalifah, custodian of the earth. This means being a khalifa. It means becoming a responsible human being capable of managing knowledge, economics, family, and community life according to divine guidance. It is important to know that this night is not about turning religious practices into secret or magical rites. We have to stop presenting religion as something magical. miracles and magic. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum.